Okay, so I'm going to give you your scarf. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the eulogies, and then we'll cut the scarf right before we lower the grave. Okay? So just take the scarf, and you're going to tie it and just sort of let it hang over your left side. You got your
Mars. Believe it or not, I found out
I'm going to give you guys your scarves, okay?
an hour ago because of your post.
Because of my post?
Kind of hang over the left side. Don't look for me. Go on. Just hang over the left side of your...
In there.
A tie? Yeah. Yeah, just a tie. Simple tie. Mary, do you remember me? Okay. You have some help you. It's good to see you. You just kind of just tie around your neck with the scarf, and you can get over the right side. Yeah, right side first. Not let it sort of hang. You can wear whatever you want. I mean, some people wear it during the Shiva period. Some people wear this today. And we'll cut it. We'll do the Kriya on it after we're done with the burial.
Not like you think at first. I don't want to stand alone.
Yeah, we don't want to hover. We're over here.
My name is Akiva Feinstein. It's an honor for me to be here today. I feel like I'm here today as the rabbi to help with the officiating, to help with the Jewish procedures, but also I am, and I feel like I'm part of this family, you know, with a special connection to Leah Razel and to Laura, of course, and to her extended family. So for me, it's a very big honor, a special thing for me to be here today. It's a hard time to be here today. You know, the loss of such a dear person with such a big heart, person who so cared for us and so loved us and so was so special to us. But it's also a time to give great thanks, you know, for 89 years with a very, very special person who gave us a lot, who taught us a lot, and helped to build us and make us into the people who we are because of who he was. We're here today to honor his memory, the memory of Paul Marvin Gottlieb. So we'll start with a selection from the Psalms. We'll say the 23rd Psalm. You're welcome to join me in Hebrew and English. Mizra LeDavid, Adonai Roy Lo Yixar, Binai Stashach Yarbitzeni, Al Mimnuchos Yanachaleni, Nafshi Yeshovev Yancheni V'Maglei Tzedek Laman Shemo, Gam Ki Elech V'Geitz Almaves Lo Yira Ki Ata Imani, Shivtacha Umishantacha Hima Yanachamoni, Tairach Lefanai Shulchan Neged Sayrai, Yishanta V'Shem Roshi Kosi Ravaya, Achto V'Chesed Yirdefuni, Kol Yimei Chayai, V'Shavti B'Beis Adonai. So we'll turn now, we'll say Psalm 130. Shir Hamalos Mimamakim Kirasicha Adonai. Adonai Shema V'Koli Tiazacha Peshuvos L'Chol Hachanunai. Ima V'Nos Tishmarya Adonai Miyamod Ki Imcha Haslicha Leman Tiberei. Kavis Adonai, Kavis Nafshi, Kavili Varo Ocholti, Nafshi Ladinoi, Shamrim Lavoker, Shamrim Lavoker, Yachel Yisrael El Adonai, Ki Im Adonai Chesed, Vaharbei Imov Fidus, Vahu Yafneis Yisrael, Mikol Avanosov. A song of ascents from the depths I called you, O Lord. May Lord hear my voice. May your ears be attentive to the sound of my pleas. If you preserve inequities, O God, my Lord, who could survive? For with you is forgiveness, that you may be feared. I put confidence in God, my soul puts confidence, and I hope for his word. I yearn for my Lord among those longing for the dawn, those longing for the dawn. Let Israel hope for God, for with Hashem, God is kindness, and with him is abundant redemption. And he shall redeem Israel from all of its difficulties. On behalf of the family and friends, I'll share with you a few words. There's a lot to his story, a lot to his life, so many things that he did that we won't even cover today. And those are stories and things that you can learn and you can connect to by talking to his family and his friends. This is just the beginning of the legacy and the life that he helped to create and helped to work on so hard to leave us with who he was. So, first of all, in terms of calling him, what do we call him? It seems strange to call him Paul Marvin, because everyone called it Papo. That was what his name was. That's what everybody called him. So, pardon me if it's not formal, but that's what we are going to refer to him today, so we all know exactly, we do know anyways, of who we are talking about. So he was born in the Jewish neighborhood. We think it was near East 105th Street, Glenville neighborhood. Whatever it was obviously a neighborhood with a lot of rich Jewish life, because that got into his kishkas, it got into his persona, his being, how important it was to be part of the Jewish world, the Jewish neighborhood, the Jewish community. And for many people, one of the biggest events of their lives, as far as their matchmaking, as far as their b'sharts, it takes a little while. They might find their b'sharts when there's 20, or when they're 25, or 20, 30. But sometimes people are very lucky. They find the b'sharts in their life when they're only 8 years old. So I don't know if they knew it. I think that they sensed it, but they didn't know all the details quite yet. But Anna here and Popo were 8 years old in summer camp together. And they looked at each other, and they maybe liked the same toys, but didn't realize what would come many, many years later. It took a little bit more time. It took some high school. It took some growing up. But in 1958, they would be married. And it was Marty who was buried just in these nearby graves. Marty was the shadchan. He said, if you knew each other when you're 8, it's got to be good. So, and indeed it was, and they were happily married all of these years, raising a beautiful family and building together many, many special things. And our dear Laura, who couldn't be here today, she's on with Zoom, thanks to Josh, and the technology, but she reminded us that there was another heavenly sign that they were meant together. That Papa was born on Groundhog's Day, and Mom was born, I believe, on the first day of spring. So the seasons themselves hinted at the growth that they would have together as creating of a family. So in terms of back to the Jewish thing, he was in the right neighborhood, he had the right wife, and he also had very good yichus. Yichus is Jewish connectedness, where you come from, your roots. And the roots of the family go back to a very, very famous yeshiva. It was known as the Lamza Yeshiva, and it was one of the biggest yeshivas in Poland. And it was supported by the great rabbis of the time, Chafetz Chaim and others, endowed it with a special reputation. And it was from this yeshiva, from this branch, that many, many great rabbis came, and these great rabbis and these great students became part of this great family. And in fact, this yeshiva has a branch in Petach Tikva, Israel, as well as its roots many days ago in Poland. And so the way the family goes, the story of the family, was that the family is really rooted in kindness. That way back when, the early 20th century, that one or two members of this family were very wealthy. They were very connected, and they made sure that their relationships and their family members moved on to a safer place. So they came out of Holland, they came out of Poland, and these people arranged that they would come to Israel and to America. And so it's not just the Gottlieb family, but many relatives of the Gottlieb family, who themselves have descendants today in Cleveland and other parts of America, have a lot to thank from this very special family yichus, these special family connections. So once again, it's no wonder that he made such a difference to Cleveland, and it's no surprise that this family had so many special connections to Cleveland as well. So, back to his life and back to the many special things, was that early on, he set his heights high in terms of his career, what he wanted to be. He wanted to be a time study engineer. And so what that was is an engineer who engineers things to take as little time as possible. So you have to be pretty smart, to make a process so efficient and so good that it not only worked out, but it took much less time than it really was supposed to. And that was his goal. And when he became like, I could do something even more important, more exciting, He went to Toledo and he studied pharmacy to become a pharmacist. But for Papo, one of the most important things wasn't to become this big, smart career guy. It was to take care of his family. And when he realized that these professions would take too long, and he just didn't have time to spend time in school, he needed to be there now and providing income, providing stability for his family, he changed his direction completely and went with great satisfaction and happiness, because the most important thing for him was his family and taking care of the people that needed him most. So early on, it was a family business that took him all the way to Norfolk, Virginia, and then ultimately it was, moving elsewhere in search of different business opportunities. And the theme of him and his business ideas was that you didn't have to have skills, you didn't have to have experience, you didn't have to have a reputation. If you thought this was a great business, you just did it. As simple as that. And so the same man who considered engineering, he considered pharmacy, he decided he was going to become an expert at buying and selling houses. And that's what he did. And I think people must have trusted him, must have really liked him, to give him all these breaks in these new fields that he had never done before. So he did that a while. And so after you're done selling houses, what do? You maybe work on houses, you're a real estate agent. But no, in this case, he said, it's time to become a deli man, and that's what he really loved. He became a deli man, he became a professional restaurateur, and he opened restaurants in Cleveland and in Pittsburgh and even in St. Louis. And some of his contemplated business ideas are even more amazing than the ones that actually happened. He even contemplated opening up a closeout store, and one of his last ventures that maybe it's a good thing didn't happen was he thought he would open up a family comedy store. Anyways, but one of his most famous ventures was the opening of a kosher Chinese restaurant. And this was very important to many Clevelanders who valued Chinese food and they valued kosher. And so it was called Peking Kosher. And you would think after all these restaurant experiences, he would be tired of trying something new and different, but not at all the case. His love of the Jewish community, his love of all things Jewish, said to him, you know what I should do? I think it's time that I opened up a Jewish bookstore. And usually people open up Jewish bookstores are scholars, rabbis, students of the book. But for him, he felt like, I could do this. And so he made a very successful, I believe it was successful, store in Cedar Center. And one of the biggest successes he had was related to the holiday of Sukkot, of Sukkot. So he cornered the market on all things Sukkot. The 4 species, the Daled Minim, the paraphernalia for the Sukkah to decorate it, and the schach to cover it. And in fact, his kids described that the whole house, the whole business was crazy the weeks before Sukkot, because the whole place was filled with stuff for Sukkot. And as we know, it's only 1 week. So, you got to hold on to the stuff and then it gets sold right before the holiday. And in fact, Matthew was saying that he to this day is an expert on grading esrogim. He walks into a store, he doesn't just say that's a beautiful esrog, he will say that's a $90 esrog, or a $500 esrog, or a priceless esrog. From the experiences that he learned, working with Papo as the Jewish bookstore entrepreneur. So, one of the things that made him successful in the store, if you want to call it that, was his close connection to the many rabbis. He was very close to Rabbi Shur, of blessed memory, the rabbi of Heights Jewish Center. He would always go there for Shabbos, and that was one of his biggest joys, is bringing the family to spend the Shabbos, for the Kiddushes, to spend time together as a family at the shul. He also had his neighbor Rabbi Alevsky. And as anyone who knows Rabbi Alevsky, he moved very quickly, and I think he and Papo had lots of ideas, and they always wanted to come up with new ventures for the Jewish community. And word was that he gave Rabbi Alevsky key advice about how to run his summer camp. And so Chabad rabbis usually have things worked out, but there are actually some things he didn't realize that he needed to do for his summer camp, and Papo made him quite successful in that regard. And I heard this directly from Mrs. Alevsky, so this is something I'm not making up myself. Another thing that he liked to do was he would host Shabbos groups in his house. Kids who, to stay together, to get excited about Shabbos itself. Those were proudly hosted in the Gottlieb house. We don't know the background to the story, but one day he became so inspired that he decided he wanted to jump in the car, and I think he took his wife with him, I'm not sure. And he said, I'm going to go all the way, I'm going to drive all the way through the nights until I get to Crown Heights. Because the Rebbe was giving out brachas, the Rebbe was giving out dollars, and I did not want to miss the opportunity to get one of the Rebbe's famous mitzvah dollars. And that's what he did. And in the old days, I don't think cars were as reliable. So the idea that one car could get you all the way to Crown Heights from Cleveland without stopping for oil or something going wrong was pretty amazing. But the word is that he did it. And he was pretty modest about his business ventures and all the different crazy ideas that he tried. And maybe people would say, how did you know all these things? You must have been an expert. And he would call himself the great faker, right? And all things that he did, he said, I would always just fake it until I made it. So it seems like he faked it, but he really made it in the end, which was pretty amazing. So eventually he had to retire, and he was supposed to do the right thing, which was to retire at age 65. He didn't really listen. He pushed it maybe to 7 years old. But even then, he made the family happy that he sold the businesses, but he didn't really retire. He kept on working and selling and doing stuff in the deli. And he even went to work in Pittsburgh for someone we all know, for David Pearl, the deli that he had set up over there. So in life he was busy with a lot of different ventures and a lot of different ideas. But the main thing that we remember about him was that he was this guy who was a little gruff on the outside. He was a little bit, not as smooth on the outside, but that begot inside a very, very soft, very special, very loving inside. And as I said many times, he loved his family, he loved the people in his life, his wife, his children, his grandchildren, so much. And he really loved people, especially people named Mayer, people with the same name that he had in particular. So I just wanted to finish, with a little story, the family shared, which is that his illness and the last few days or weeks of his life were difficult. They were not easy, but the way he was in his last moments really tells what kind of a person he was and what mattered him the most. In his last few days, he couldn't really move too much. He was barely able to chew or to have his food. But what did he do? Whenever he saw the people he loved, his wife, his children, his grandchildren, he moved his cheek just a little bit in their direction to ready them to give him a kiss. And that's all he wanted, that's all he lived for, and that's how we remember. That's how he used his last energies, to position himself, position his face towards his family, to tell them how much he loved them, and how much their kiss and how much their affection really, really meant to him. So we will dearly be missed, and we pray very, very strongly that his memory shall always be for a blessing. And now in Shemayim, now in heaven, we ask that his prayers come to his dear Almana, to his dear widow, his dear children, dear grandchildren, and that it also should bring a refuah shalema, should bring a complete healing to his beloved daughter Laura, who's here with us on the Zoom as well. So, like I said, many more words, many more things that we will share, God willing, in time to come. But it's cold and the time is a little bit short. So at this moment now, we're going to proceed to the next part, which is giving him our honor, our appreciation in a physical sense, but all taking part in the physical mitzvah of the Jewish burial. So at this moment, I could ask everyone to please rise, and we're going to go ahead and lower the casket.
You okay?
rabbi's blessing.
With it.
Technically, he's known as my godfather.
He was your godfather.
My godfather.
That's true. So his dad was best man at their wedding. Dad was best man.
And vice versa.
He used to have, it was like,
Fond memories of Silsby. He used to let me ride the Cushman up and down the
Did let
street.
you ride
Oh
the
God, I
Cushman
remember
up
that
and down the street.
Cushman.
I was probably the only one who ever rode
I
it.
rode it.
Did you?
We're gonna have the family place some earth on top of the casket. Then we're gonna put the vault cover on, and then we encourage everyone to take part together in the mitzvah of placing the earth.
Because of him, I own a motorcycle.
As long as you don't crash the house. This is gonna go.
Maybe they'll meet each other up there and play cards again like the old days.
Oh?
Huh?
With no help?
Hi, how are you? What are you doing? I want to go say hi to you.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Hmm?
That would be nice. I did too. That's why I did it with that.
Very wet and heavy. I used to be able to do more. Don't overtask yourself though. Just take a little bit.
If it falls, it's fine.
Yeah, let it fall.
yeah, I know, that's what I wasn't sure.
We'll get you new ones next week.
I've seen it far worse. We just put a lot of clay here. Yeah.
We had a 6 string. We didn't know what time this was supposed to be. That was the latest. I know.
Maybe one of the other
That would be lovely. I know you've got a lot here. A lot of good things here. Thank God. Thank God. Wow.
He was paid free at the end.
Well, I didn't renovate a bath. That's what I wanted to do. Thank God. Thank God. It was insane. I redid my entire downstairs, my stairwell, redo floors and entryway, and I redid the downstairs, but that was easy. It wasn't even going to be a redo. It was just going to be a floor. But once everything was out, so we were like trapped upstairs, like we were trapped upstairs with our cats. We were eating in our bed because we couldn't even eat downstairs at all. But you know what? I was so worth it. I was so happy. And now I want to do my kind of warm main full bath. And that's what I really want to do. But, no. I think everything's going to wait a little while now. It's just a lot. Yeah. I know. But thank God my parents was so far. The shower over there, I don't know, like it's not ideal, but it's not funny.
I'm not dressed.
You know, one of these days. Yes, I'm glad you got to see the girl.
You know, I have to tell you.
Thank you for coming. Sorry.
Thank you.
I have nothing.
No, we
Flying back today.
Yeah, basically you're going the whole time in New York, yeah.
You know, Minion? You have a Minion? Yeah.
Yeah. Thank God Young Israel covers everything for you.
Oh.
The reasons you join a shul. Oh my God.
There's going to be hot coffee
Look, Eitan's just in a sport jacket.
doing that.
Oh,
Israeli.
Okay. No.
No.
My body adapted to the cold. It can't take it.
There's a shortage big time.
I don't make the
now
I just make the pictures, but I can ask someone to help me out and make you a hard one. You like that?
All right, guys, I think
You like math? Are you good at it? Yeah. Does he use his stuff? No, I don't think so. Have you ever heard of Amplify? Oh, that's where I work. Wait, Amplify. It's like a they make tests and books. Well, I'm doing
Okay, folks, we're going to wrap up the service. Just a quick thing. When we finish the service up here, we're going to have an opportunity to go down to the bottom of the hill, and there's an office that serves the cemetery, and the office has a small room, and we wanted to give the family an opportunity just to sit Shiva very briefly. And so what we're going to do, if you're able to make it, is we're going to come to the room, and we're just going to give a little bit of food to the family. They're going to just make a blessing, eat a little bit, just a few minutes literally, 5 or so minutes, and then hopefully we will have a minyan, and we'll be able to daven mincha, and then we're going to get Matthew and his family, the people headed to New York, to be able to make their plane on time. There won't be any formal local shiva arrangements, but Matthew will be sitting shiva in New York. And just another mention that we have Laura on the Zoom who couldn't be here, but she's been able to watch us, she's been able to be with us, so our condolences and thoughts are with her as well. So at this moment we're just going to say one final section of Tehillim, and then the mourners are going to be able to say the mourner's Kaddish. We'll say Tehillim as above. Mizul David, Adonai, Mi Yagor Kalacha, Mi Yishlein Bahar Shafa, Elach Hamim Ufal Tzedek, V'Dover Emes B'L'Tavot. Lo Ragal, Al Shainar, Lo Asel L'Reich, L'Ra'ah, B'Cher Kol L'Nasa, Al L'Krovo. Nivze, Be'inav Nimas, Ves Yirei, Adonai, Yesh Beit, Nishma, L'Hara, V'Lo Yamir. Kaspo, Lo Nasan, B'Nesha, L'Shoichet, Al Nafi, Lo Yilaka, Eise Eila, Lo Yimoit, Lo Yimoit. We'll say the Kaddish now, okay? So maybe all the kids want to come stand together. Matthew will lead us in the Kaddish. So, customarily, we don't make the shura today, right? We don't make we don't make a shura today, but we all give our condolences to the family, and we all say collectively, we say Hamakom, Yinacham, Esbem, Shar, the omnipresent, may God comfort you, all the mourners, so thank you to everybody. So this completes our service, and like I said, if you could come join us at the bottom of the hill, near the office, and we'll just do the small shiva, and a little bit of
And same for you. I hope it's a wonderful